Hello, I'm recording this video to go through my predictions for the 2024 Game Awards ceremony happening on Thursday, the 12th of December 2024. I will be live over on twitch.tv/hotcider, HOTCYDER, if you'd like to watch if you would like to watch if you would like to watch it along live with me and whoever else might be in the chat. But before we can even get there, I need to go through my predictions and kind of go say my thoughts on why I chose certain things. By the way, what do you think of my Christmas tree this year, which has a special friend at the top trying to get his hand on the star? Pretty good. Also, you're going to hear a lot of wind because we had a terrifying weather warning today, so that'll probably explain what that is. But let's hope that no weather warnings for the Game Awards. So I've already gone through these on my end, but like last year, I'll just go in reverse and kind of explain who I choose for which. Start with Content Creator of the Year, which I was flip-flopping between Queso and the one that I eventually went with, and that was mostly because this year I have no idea what's actually gonna win. Not because it's different to last year where there was too many kind of clear winners to, kind of hone on what I wanted to do. This year it's a bit more like, well, I'm not really sure in any category, like what's going to win over anything else. So I did a bit of, I had a look at the data, I kind of looked at the wisdom of crowds as well, and so a lot of my decision making this year hasn't been the most pie in the sky thinking or really a lot of gut feel. It's mostly been going on trying to see what everybody else is doing, which is why for the Content Creator of the Year, I don't know why I've written Pico Pico in, because I think somebody else did, but I've gone for the VTuber, and to be honest, the main reason why I've gone with them is one, because it's funny, and two, because Hideo Kojima's pals with them. So if that's not a reason not to vote for somebody, I don't know what will. But Queso will probably actually win it, if I would have to guess. Best adaptation, though, originally I was locked in for thinking it was going to be Fallout, because, well, it's an American awards ceremony, and everybody likes, the Fallout games and Microsoft and stuff like that. But then I thought, well, funnily enough, the adaptation category was invented for Arcane, the Netflix TV series made by Riot Games, who are also American. The season 2 of it is one of the highest rated things of the year, so it just made sense to me of like, well, yeah, no, of course it would probably be that. So again, easy lock on that. Most anticipated game, I've seen a lot of people throw out that they probably think it's going to be Monster Hunter Wilds. I have no idea why. Metroid, I also don't think is probably, it seems like an obvious one, but again, I think in any other year, it probably would win it, but not this one, because GTA 6 probably makes the most sense. It's coming out next year. Everybody likes GTA. So that's what I put for that. Now, for Fresh Indie / debut game, the one that used to be sponsored by Subway Jared, bit of an easy one for this. I went for Balatro, because obviously Balatro is this year's most kind of successful underdog story. Came from a developer who, was working on it in their own time over the course of years, and there's obviously through such great content creators like Hot Cider and then Northern Lion basically playing it every week for a good few months. It's gone on to be a phenomenon. Between that and all the merch, the mobile version as well, I can't really see it being anything other than Balatro, and I think that will also probably apply when we get to Indie Game of the Year as well. But that's my lock for that. For best multiplayer game, I put Helldivers 2. I'm not super solid on that, but again, I think it's got a bit of the Balatro thing of just obviously Helldivers 2 is a really big success, earlier in the year. A lot of solid community support around it, and I can see that probably carrying through into voting. For best sports and racing game, I had no idea on this one, so I just went with the name which had the biggest poll, which was EA FC 2025. The latest footy game of the year. So if I don't get this one right, I don't feel too badly about this. When looking at the data, absolutely no one has any idea which ones this is going to be, but a lot more were leaning in the side of the AFC. So all I can hope is that they're correct. Best sim strategy game. I can't remember what I had here initially, but what I ended up landing on was Mana Lords, and that was based more on the fact of the Sim Strategy Awards is usually the PC awards, and it's the people who, you know, review and put together stuff for the PC market are like, well, this is the category that we're going to focus all our energy in, and kind of in that space, Mana Lords has been like this super big success this year, especially compared to kind of everything else that is in that category. And in regards to people that I trust and people who have got a lot of the game awards right in previous years, they're also leaning towards Mana Lords, so that's kind of why I went with that. Best family game though, easy lock, it's Astrobot. Even though it's going up against 4 or 3 Nintendo games in this category, it's carved out for Astro. If anything, I would have said this would have easily been Astro's year, considering how much buzz it has got. But I mean, it's kind of up in the air of like, I don't know if it's going to take home the actual gold crown of Game of the Year, even though there was a point where I thought it might, but I think Family Game is an easy lock for it, especially over Zelda and Brothership. It's, yeah, nothing to argue about, really. Same goes for Fighting Game of the Year Tekken 8. You do the flow chart. Did a Smash Brothers game come out this year? No. Did a Street Fighter game come out this year? No. Did a Mortal Kombat game come out this year? No. Did a Tekken game come out this year? Yes. And in any other year that Tekken doesn't come out, that's where you look at the weird stuff like that's why Multiverses won last year. There is the opportunity that it could win again this year, which would be really good, but no, like even with the sort of woes around its DLC and shit, I think this is just Tekken 8 is gonna win this pretty easily. Best RPG, yeah, because this is the most contentious category this year, because so many of the big games that came out were RPGs. Like, obviously there was FF7 Rebirth, which I think in any other year people would be like, well, obviously they got to make up for the fact that 16 didn't win last year because there was so much competition. But then you also had, Dragon Age Veilguard, which was a cool return to form for that. And obviously Veilguard had won, well, Dragon Age 3 Inquisition had won the first year of the Game Awards, which obviously this is the 10-year event. And also Infinite Wealth as well, building on this sort of steam of the Yakuza games. But for this one, I've gone for Metaphor ReFantazio, and that's mostly based on how well it's reviewed, how positive people have been around it, and also I think this could be the Jimmy Page thing of, well, we never gave you an award for Led Zeppelin, but we will give you an award for whatever your new thing is. And obviously it's Atlas, it's the team that worked on the Personas, and hey, a cool little entry point to what you guys do. So yeah, this could be the award for you this year. And so I'm feeling relatively good on that. Again, it could go to FF7 if 7 doesn't get any awards elsewhere, or it could go to, I don't know, something else, but Fantasia is kind of where I'm putting my chips for now. For action adventure game, I lent on Astrobot, and I think that was probably just because of the fact that it was the clearest winner in that category. Actually, let me quickly check what the... Okay, so there's Echoes of Wisdom. Yeah, no, Echoes of Wisdom's not gonna get it. Prince of Persia's not gonna get it. No, Astrobot makes the most sense here because it's Silent Hill 2, which I don't know if people would kind of call that an action-adventure game, and I think it's still a bit of a 2. Jeff went up and he said, my best friend ever, Kojima, couldn't be here because Konami wouldn't let him. I think it'd be weird for them to give an award to Silent Hill, to give basically an award to Konami. They may give an award to one of the voice the performance artists, because, they're not really tied up in all that sort of stuff. And Star Wars Outlaws, which I know is better than people gave it credit for, but again, that's the curse of the Star Wars games, is that they never win in events like these. Now, Astrobot, I think, is action-adventure pretty easily in this case. And then for best action game, I put Wukong. Now, Wukong's a bit of an interesting one, because I would say that it was the sort of my blind spot for this year, just because of the fact I'm not a massive fan of Souls stuff. the art style of it as well is just like kind of Unreal Engine 5, like whatever goes over my head. Like is not a game that's aimed at me, but the fact that it won the Golden Joystick this year and people are still very positive about it does kind of make me think, oh shit, like does this actually have a bit more steam going for it? And I think as well in the category, because it's going up against Blop 6, which was good, but like I don't think people would want to give it a Call of Duty just because it's like the old man in the room. Helldivers 2, I don't think has enough kind of big juice. Stellar Blade has like just the oddest fan base on earth, so I don't think anyone would want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. And then 40k Space Marine 2 has an interesting fan base, but it's tiny. I think Wukong, yeah, Wukong's taking an action game pretty easily, I think. There's no argument against that. And again, best VR game is just, well, what's the VR game you heard of? Oh, they made a Batman game. Oh, there we go then. So Batman Arkham Shadows taking VR AR. I mean, no one gives a shit about the Arizona Sunshine remake. Asgard's Wrath 2, never heard of it, although I do like some Zero games. Metal Hellsing in VR, don't know about that. And then Metro Awakening potentially, but it's not got like anything going for it other than that. So now Batman, I think as well they'd see it as a thing of like, oh, well, you know, Suicide Squad kind of, you know, dropped the ball, but don't worry about it. We'll pick it up elsewhere. Oh, I've ended up hopping ahead. So actually, let me go back to accessibility, which I'm going to give to Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, just because in regards to the other games, I'm not super sure what they were doing accessibility-wise. This is the only game I had played, and I just remember quite a lot of the advertising around it was going into how good its accessibility features were. So that's my assumption for that. So best community support, I've given it to Baldur's Gate 3, and my main thought behind that is just it's the game that keeps on giving. It won Game of the Year last year. I think a lot of people will probably be still, you know, the fact that it was actually up for community support is pretty exciting. So I think that, yeah, like in my mind, that makes more sense than Final Fantasy XIV this year. Best mobile game, Neely gave it to Balatro, but then Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket came out, which seems to have a lot of Marvel Marvel Snap style hype behind it. So this is probably one I'll definitely, this will end up probably being Balatro, I would think. But, you know, you gotta risk it. You gotta, you know, who dares wins, as the SAS says, and that's what I'm doing with Pokemon, I think. Yeah, no, I think Pokemon has a decent chance, and plus that means an award in Nintendo's pocket as well. For best independent game, Balatro. I mean, UFO 50, really good, like, no complaints against that. Animal Well potentially could have a little bit of source behind it as well. I mean, if I was to think of, well, if it wasn't going to be Balatro, I would probably say Animal Well might take it, especially for the donkiness of it all. Never heard of Never, so I don't think that's got much chance in it. And then, what was the other game that was up for Independent Game of the Year? Lorelei. Oh yeah, because obviously Samogo won it for, or got something for Sayonara Wild Hearts. Now, Lorelei was really good, but I don't think it's got much luck. Now, I think, no, like indie this year is just the Balatro Awards. There's no touching it, because again, Balatro is also up for Game of the Year, which I think is less likely. Although personally, in my heart, Balatro is the game of this year. Like of what's been nominated, that is my Game of the Year pick. I don't think it's going to get that, but it will get Independent Game of the Year pretty easily, I would think. Games for Impact, I went for Tales of Kanzera Zao, and mostly just because of the fact that that's had a lot of positivity behind it this year. It was announced either at the Game Awards last year or at Summer Jeff Fest, which also kind of plays nicely into it. And, you know, in a year of solid Metroidvanias, this was another one, you know? So, I'm just going to put that in for Games for Impact, I think. Now, for... best ongoing... I keep popping it all over the place. So best ongoing game, I think, is going to be Helldivers 2. I'm not super sure why I have picked that over anything else. Let me have a... Okay, yeah, no, because Destiny 2's sort of fallen off a cliff. Diablo's weird. Fortnite is Fortnite. Yeah, so it was 14 of Helldivers 2. Yeah, no, I think Helldivers 2's that a multiplayer seems to have that going for it, and I could see Jeff quickly knock those both out, like, you know, while you're waiting for more trailers to come in or, you know, the orchestra to come on. So no, I think, yeah, I would say Helldivers 2 is probably getting best ongoing game as well, in my mind. Best performance, I kept going back and forth on. My thought was, well, is whoever plays James Sunderland's going to get it this year, but now I think, mostly based on chatting to other people and seeing where a lot of the other predictions are blowing, I'm going to give it to Aerith from the FF7 Rebirth, so Brianna White. Haven't played the game, don't even know if performance is that good. This is purely just going and looking at the data. So if I get it wrong, well, I don't have to take blame for it. I can just say, well, everybody else was wrong. But yeah, I think if my backup would have been, what's his face, James Sunderland, so if I end up doing a video where I cut to myself and it's like, oh, I definitely sure it's going to be this, and then cut to Jeff and he's like, James Sunderland's won the award. Well, there we go. So I don't feel too bad about that. So best audio design, I gave this to Hellblade 2, and that's just because it does binaural beats. Audio design is usually, I always call it guns and cars, but that hasn't really been the case in the past couple of years. Silent Hill 2 could probably take it just because of the monster sounds and the radio and stuff like that, but I think this could be Microsoft's one award of the night, if you think. Astrobot, I saw a lot of people kind of push for that because of obviously it has the whole, you know, you walk on sand and you get crunchy sound effects and stuff, but no, like Astrobot's going to get a lot of awards elsewhere, I think. So no, I think they might give this one just to Hellblade 2, just for Microsoft just having a award on the board. Score and music, FF7 Rebirth. I think last year I gave score to FF16, but it ended up being Alan Wake 2 because of the musical. I don't know. Compared to everything else that's in that category, yeah, like score and music, you got Astrobot, not in a million years. Stellar Blade, but fuck off. Like, who gives a shit? Silent Hill 2 is literally just it's just a redone version of the soundtrack that Akira did in the original, which basically leaves Rebirth and ReFantazio. I don't know enough about ReFantazio, but you could do the fighting game flow chart on it. I think 7's probably going to take music in my mind, but again, this is a weird year because there's no kind of clear, obvious winner in any of these categories, which Best Art Direction kind of is now where we go off the rails because it's our first appearance of Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. Yeah, the most controversial thing this year is that he had to put out a statement to say, well, if a DLC is good enough, it could count as Game of the Year, and boom. The top three, Game of the Year, Game Direction, and Art Direction all have Erdtree in them. So I don't know whether he's trying to prep people for what's going to come next, but for Art Direction, I put ReFantazio, and again, I think it's kind of a Persona 5 thing of, because Erdtree looks like Elden Ring, which I think already won, so that wouldn't be that exciting. Wukong looks like Elden Ring as well. Astrobot looks good, but art direction-wise, I don't know if that might be a bit of a push. Metaphor ReFantazio, though, I think, because it's doing all the cool stuff that Atlas is good at, I think that's probably what's going to get it. Oh, and Never, the Devolver Digital pick, which I would be surprised if I don't think that's walking away with anything. So no, Metaphor is probably my lock for that. Best Narrative, though. So controversially, I am giving this to Silent Hill 2, mostly because I think it would be very funny. There's two games in this category are remakes that are up for Best Narrative. Remakes that, like, in 7's case, they do play with the plot a little bit, but Silent Hill 2's is like, I described this on a podcast that I was on a couple of weeks ago, but I basically said that it was like, it's the Zack Snyder's Watchmen adaptation of, well, technically it's plot for plot and beat for beat, but how they've reinterpreted stuff is really wonky. And I don't know, in my mind, Silent Hill 2 could probably walk away with Best Narrative just because Hellblade 2, I don't like I've heard no one talk about the plot coming out of that. Infinite Wealth is controversial. I think they need kind of another Like a Dragon game, which maybe is a little bit more down to earth before that might ever be considered. ReFantazio, I have I just have no idea about that game. So Rebirth could potentially take it, but no, I'm gonna give it to Silent Hill 2 just because I think that might be funny. If that wins, like just imagining the look on Jeff's face, like his dog farted, as Bloober Team go up and go, well, obviously we can't take this award because we're just building on what the original Konami team did, blah blah blah. But yeah, so that's gonna be my pick for that. Again, not the most confident one, but you know, that'll be that. Best game direction. So we're into the 6 pointers now, but I've decided for this one that I'm going to go for Shadow of the Erdtree, and that's mostly just because of the fact that it seems to be the game that everybody really loves this year, despite the fact that it's a DLC. I mean, Balatro probably could and should take it. Astrobot maybe because of the whole fact that it's like, oh, this is what the games that Sony should be making, and bringing back, you know, Ape Escape and Crash Bandicoot. Rebirth and Fantasio, I don't know if they've got enough like juice behind. And then Wukong is just Elden Ring. Like, why would like it is weird that it's in so many categories of like why vote for the Dark Souls knockoff when you can have the full fat thing with Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree. So I think that's probably getting game direction, and controversially, and maybe in self-defeat, I also think Erdtree is probably going to win Game of the Year. It was a clear winner like in 2022 that Elden Ring was just going to sweep the awards just because of how much like power was behind it. And I don't know, I can just see the narrative of Erdtree winning again and everybody going, well, that's the thing about it. It's not just a DLC, it's its own entire thing, you know? And like, to go for the others, so Astrobot was what I assumed was going to win up until the Erdtree up until the actual announcements came out and they were like, oh, actually, DLC can be part of this. Astrobot was mostly just based on the fact of how everybody was kind of celebrating it as this sort of like underdog achievement of, again, like, oh, it's not a, you know, a Last of Us game or whatever, it's its own kind of cool thing, which, you know, is fine and whatever, but like, I think now with the Erdtree in the mix, it's less like there's gonna be this, again, Wukong's an interesting one because it did win the Golden Joystick, and it could be a thing if they rock the vote again, and it could defeat Elden Ring in an upset, and everybody in the audience goes eights together strong, you know, because it does, like, and you know, it could show a big shift in the industry, like all those guys come up on stage and be like, hey guys, you know, good games are, you know, AAA, quadruple A can come out of China now, so, you know, watch your fucking backs kind of thing, which would be nice. But FF7 Rebirth had a lot of like cool juice behind it, but I don't think that's likely. And again, ReFantazio also isn't, but it is funny because basically I managed to predict all of these apart from Wukong, but then kept also changing them in and out. Veilguard I thought would have an opportunity to get in there, but then that kind of became my Starfield of I just assumed that, oh, well, they need to have a big American or a big like Xbox game there. They don't. They can have 2, 3, 4 RPGs in there, like, no problem. But like, yeah. And then Balatro, as I said, is the one I would like to win, and maybe it probably will win, but I don't know, I think the Wukong magic is there, but I think the Wukong magic could turn into Erdtree magic. But those are only my thoughts. Again, not the most clear-cut year, and again, I have absolutely zero gut feel about anything. I'm pretty sure that Batman's getting VR. I'm pretty sure that Tekken is getting fighting game, because I mean, it's going up against Multiverses again. It's going up against a Marvel vs. Capcom collection. Grand Blue, no one cares. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, I don't know. People do like Dragon Ball, but not as much as Tekken, let's be fair. Pretty sure Astrobot is taking Family Game. I mean, it's going up against Plucky Squire, which isn't getting anything. Princess Peach's Showtime. People didn't even remember it came out. So, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that. I'm also feeling pretty good about Arcane taking adaptation, even though originally I did think it was going to be Fallout. And then obviously Most anticipated game, yeah, it's not going to be Ghost of Yotei. It's not going to be On the Beach. It's not going to be fucking Monster Hunter Wilds. It's GTA 6, like pretty easily, I think. And as per usual, I don't do the esports, and apparently neither do they this year because they got rid of one of the categories. So there we go. But yeah, like I said, I guess we'll find out if I'm right on the night coming the 12th of December, Thursday night. Well, I guess technically for the Brits it'll be Friday morning because it'll be at midnight and then go on until 4 in the morning. So it's going to be a long one. I'm going to need to have an energy drink to probably get through it, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, as per usual, let me know in the comments what your predictions are going to be. And until, when we go live, I will hopefully see you then.